I've mentioned that I've worked for Long Beach PD, Police Department, as a volunteer and as a liaison between the police department and the gay community. And one of the things that the gay community would bitch an awful lot about was the unfair treatment of the Vice Squad. And we had a very active Vice Squad in Long Beach in the 1980s. People would go into a restroom, like on the beach or maybe at a park, and be arrested for having sex in the restroom. Now, that's not a bad thing to be arrested for doing something illegal. And people should not be having sex in a restroom. It's just illegal and improper. But some people would complain that they weren't doing anything. And an undercover officer would come in, and there may be a guy using the urinal or washing his hands or whatever, and the officer would then leave and signal to the other officers who were also undercover to come in and arrest the guy. And that undercover officer that was in the restroom would be engaged in entrapment. He would say things about this guy making a pass or groping him in the groin or something like that, which in some cases never happened. And the thing that is so bad about this is the person being accused of this crime usually pleads guilty to a lesser charge, because if they try to fight it in court, they have to be talking about being in the restroom and what they did or didn't do. Maybe they're school teachers, and it's just a big mess. Most of the people who were accused of public sex in a restroom pleaded guilty because it was just easier to get it over with, and it would be like disturbing the peace or some misconduct rather than a sex offense. And they would do this a lot. I remember attending a meeting of the Vice Squad where they were talking about policy. And there was this new recruit. He couldn't have been more than like 21, 22 years old, very good looking, dark complexion, handsome young man. And he was being trained to be the undercover officer. So he had gone out a few times. And of course, the officer who's undercover is never supposed to do anything illegal themselves. And this officer thought he had to follow along to make sure this guy was guilty of a sex crime, that he had to participate in the sex crime in the restroom. And he's got his report there, and he's really serious. I mean, he doesn't know this sounds ridiculous. He says, well, Lieutenant, I was in the restroom, and this guy came up to me, and I don't know if he wanted to have sex, but he was staring at me, and then he told me to kneel down. He just pointed to the floor, like, get down. And then I got on my knees, and he pushed his groin next to my face. He pushed out his groin, and he was kind of rubbing my face. And then he told me to undo his zipper and to take his dick out. And he proceeded to do that, and I then opened my mouth because he asked me to, and then he inserted his dick in my mouth and proceeded to have oral sex with me. It's just ridiculous. This is true. Some of these things are just so ridiculous, you can't believe they're really happening. And the officers, his seniors, who were in this little conference room, maybe about 7 of us all together, were smirking and laughing, and they were just letting him go on and on and on. And he says, and then he grabbed my ears, and he was pushing my head against his pelvis, and I was practically choking. They destroyed the report because I asked for a copy of it. I said, I'm the liaison here. I should have a copy of this report for the. Oh no. And they destroyed it. But it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. My suggestion to them to keep people from having sex in a bathroom is just to put up a sign that says, this restroom is patrolled by Long Beach PD. And that would keep a lot of people out of there. Nobody wanted to get arrested. Years later in Long Beach, they ended up making all restrooms single restrooms, like only one person goes in, and the door locks automatically from the inside. And, that solved a lot of the problems that we had. But, there's a side where some people have sex in restrooms, park, beach, wherever, a stadium, and usually because they're very closeted. They can't meet gay people, they can't go to a bar, somebody might see them. And it's usually people who are married, often older, and they have no choice. They want to do it in a very private place where nobody else will see them. So they might solicit sex in a restroom. But on the other hand, there are people, and a friend of mine was one of them, who was accused of beating off in a restroom in the Carson Mall, I think it was. This friend of mine actually had AIDS and had no energy. There was no sexual energy. And the police arrested him for having sex in a bathroom. I know he didn't do that. He couldn't do that. He was using the bathroom for a bathroom. And he ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge because he didn't have the strength, the emotional strength to go through a court trial. And it just broke my heart because he was a dear, dear friend of mine. And it's cases like that that helped the Vice Squad to disappear maybe 10 or 15 years later. I don't think we have one in Long Beach anymore. So I just wanted to share that with you. If any of you had any experience in seeing something go wrong in a restroom, like the police are there or somebody getting arrested, what did you think about it? Enter them in the comments below and share them with the rest of us.